Today on Full Circle, we are joined by Carrie Alberts, also known as Dementia Darling, a passionate voice in the world of dementia care. With a master's in gerontology and over a decade of experience, Carrie has built an online community of over 65,000 caregivers, offering real talk, encouragement, and meaningful support. Her mission is deeply personal, sparked by her grandmother's diagnosis and her father's journey as a caregiver. Through her work, Carrie has created a safe and empowering space where caregivers feel seen and supported. Carrie, we're excited to have you. Would love for you to just talk about Dementia Darling, what you're exactly doing over here.
I am a full-time dementia educator and advocate in our space. And that has come from my past of getting my Master of Science degree focused in gerontology and working with seniors living with dementia and working with their families, the family caregivers for the last about 12 years across the senior living spectrum. Through that work, I went to social media to share what I've learned and to cheer these family caregivers on and professionals because it's the hardest job in the world. So I show up as a social media educator, and I also do in-person speaking events, and I work with like-minded companies to provide the best resources and education, compassionate dementia education, and to lift up dementia caregivers in any way that I can and help them build community.
So, Carrie, tell me about how you got into dementia in the first place.
My grandmother, unfortunately, was catapulted into dementia when I was 6 years old in a very bad car crash with a head injury. And it changed our family's life overnight. Obviously, I was 6. I didn't know what the heck was going on. No one explained it to me because I don't think my parents understood either. But my dad became a family caregiver for his mom overnight. And that went on. He cared for her until I was 13. So for all those years, seeing the progression and just wondering what is happening here and, visiting her in senior living communities. And as she moved to memory care and hospice, and it just really obviously stuck with me. And when I went to college, it was still very rare to find gerontology programs, the study of aging. It's hard to find dementia care programs in higher education. And I went to a university in Reno, Nevada. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they had a gerontology school, and they let me focus on Alzheimer's specifically care, and it just all fell into place. Yeah.
Carrie, you also worked in facilities, and you had like an interesting journey from your education all the way to how you got here as an influencer. Would love to talk about a little bit about your experiences.
So first off, I started in adult daycare, which, so their loved ones, they would drop them off for the day, and then their loved ones usually go to work or get a break, which we call respite for family caregivers. And it was an intergenerational adult daycare center. So there was a preschool on site, and the kids would come over and see all the grandmas and grandpas twice a day for a snack, and we'd hang out. And those experiences, because that was my first job as a caregiver in that world, it truly was like, just everything made sense when I was working with these people and seeing the joy and seeing the community and seeing the different generations together. And the beauty of that is they get to go home. They go home with loved ones. You're not doing that overnight care, which can be very intense for a lot of people. And so it's just so different than, when you step into a memory care or assisted living, which I also did, and they live there. They're not going anywhere, and that is their home, those walls. I would always feel really guilty that they couldn't leave these walls. And I got to leave at the end of the day. I was done at the end of my workday. So that was always kind of hard for me when I transitioned into where people actually lived 24/7. Seeing people that didn't have families, seeing people that never got to leave and have those experiences, that was really difficult. But it also made my job even more important for, to show up for those people and to give them joy and to help bring a better quality of life to where they are.
And I'm sure being in the facility itself is hard. It's emotionally taxing. It's physically taxing. So we spoke about this earlier. Tell me about the burnout, about the painful realities that folks over there face.
The senior care system, is infrastructure is quite broken, I believe, in where I live in the U.S. I think that there's so many things that, need to be changed and that are making it not be successful as it should be, for sure. We do not respect, I feel like, our seniors like we should in this country. And it has led to a very broken senior care system set up for them. And we're not ready, first off, for all that, the generation to come and the baby boomers. We're just not ready. But I know I just said I had all these positives. I do. There's so many positives about this work. But yes, there are so many painful realities. First off, something that I will just be speaking about until I'm blue in the face is the lack of pay. Caregivers and professionals in this field have one of the hardest jobs in the world. It is emotionally taxing. It is physically taxing. It is mentally taxing. It's all the things. And they don't take into account a lot of times, like the management and, people that own these places, how emotionally taxing this is. And when we're not supported emotionally going through, watching people we love and have cared for years sometimes pass away, and then we're told to just pick ourselves up and go to the next room and help the next person. There's such a lack of support for the trauma that direct care workers go through, and the respect on top of that. So when you're not getting paid well, you're not respected, it feels like, right? I mean, do the backbreaking work, and they are not treated with dignity. They need to be paid a livable wage, and they're not. I mean, some caregivers have to work multiple jobs to just get by and pay their rent. So that's a huge one. And that, again, leads to more burnout. And then they have to leave those jobs and go work at fast food restaurants, even though their heart is in care. So we lose a lot of really great people, not only from the money perspective, but not supporting them when they need it. They do not have enough staffing. I mean, chronically understaffed across the board, leading to less quality care, leading to, more issues, more falls, more all the things, right? There's so many issues with lack of care. And then again, leading to more burnout.
So Carrie, last time we spoke, you also mentioned about some of the specific things that you do around on dementia, right? Like there are some, you mentioned specific technology tools that you like.
Gosh, there's so many amazing innovations popping up every day in the dementia and caregiving space. I will say I am part of the AARP Age Tech Collaborative. And so I am a business service with them. So I'm at the forefront of hearing all the new tech that's coming out. And I think this is going to be a game changer. As we said, lack of staff, there aren't eyes on everyone. We can't. And privacy, right? But so there's a lot of tech companies that are developing, sensors in rooms that, not necessarily even, some are not even cameras, but others have cameras where it turns you into a stick figure. So you have privacy still, but you have that oversight. These sensors can literally keep track with data, when they get out of bed, when they don't, and how many times did they go to the bathroom last night? How long was someone in their room when they came to help them? It can keep track of all this. And even, they even have it where there are smart toilets which will scan whatever is in the toilet and can go right to the caregiver if they're getting sick. It is insane. So the more tech like that, where we can have that oversight, we can have that extra security for people, that is going to help, because we have lack of staff to do that. So if staff doesn't have to go in, and that takes so much off of them. There is an amazing company, Zila Care, that has Depends, so they're the underwear, and it has a sensor in it and literally sends a notification to a caregiver's phone and tells them how wet the pants are.
Yeah.
And so if they're not wet, you won't wake them up in the middle of the night to ask them to go to the bathroom, and then they sleep better. From engagements to technology like Zinnia TV, like Rendeavor, which is VR for dementia care, which they're finding is very useful for people in advanced dementia.
There's obviously a factor of efficiency. Can it make it more efficient so that rather than having, let's say, 10 care providers, you have fewer and you're able to pull off the facility with that? The other angle could also be that if they're able to take away some of the work that makes the job hard, right? You'll probably be able to attract more talent. You'll be able to get more people in the system. I'm guessing through the AARP Foundation, I mean, the group over there, you must be working on stuff. Do you help in seeding some of this?
With this collaborative, I am seen as a business service. So I'm there as a resource for these companies. So if a company is like, okay, I'm working on a technology that's going to help dementia caregivers or people living with dementia specifically, any of those like kind of groupings, they can meet with me and I can help them kind of talk through who they're trying to, who their end user is. And I'm really trying to push, if you're making tech for people and they're not sitting at your table, your end user is not there, then we have a disconnect and you're building, who are you building for? So I want to facilitate, and I'm trying to help facilitate people living with dementia, their caregivers at the table with them to help them through this journey of innovating.
So when you meet caregivers or family members of those who have somebody who has dementia, like what is the guidance that you provide?
So when someone is just getting a diagnosis for their loved one or for themselves, scariest thing ever, right? When people hear dementia, obviously you're going to think life is over. And we have this saying in the US, we say you literally get from the doctor diagnosis and adios. So like you get your diagnosis and then they're like, bye. And that's it. Because the doctors don't even know what to say to people because they're not trained in it. And they don't have time, unfortunately. So these people are often going to social media because they don't know where else to go. We see now, I mean, in younger generations, the most used search engine is now TikTok, not Google. You go in, you find a hashtag of what you're looking for, and you find a full community on social media of who's going through it with you. Same with caregivers. So when they find me, one of the first things I always try to say is, I just try to validate. And I just want to say, this sucks.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be scared and mad and all the things. It's so valid. But I want you to not live in that. Be sad, be sad. But I don't want you to live in that forever because there is joy, there is beauty, and there is life to still live. I never want to do that toxic positivity stuff. I want to make sure I'm very, validating and real, but also showing the side of things that people aren't seeing. When you have dementia, you fully live in the moment. And that is such a beautiful thing that we can learn from people living with dementia. But there is other stuff that can come from this too that isn't all bad. And there is love and light and the community of people living with dementia, their caregivers, the professionals in this space. And through my work, I've learned, these caregivers are often never thanked. So I try to really push on that. And then I try to just provide them with all my favorite resources, the free resources, the support groups they need to look into now before they hit crisis mode, the pages to follow, on Instagram that are going to teach them something every day, all of the things that I think they need to know.
By the way, Carrie, is there stuff that I know that some of these are genetic?
I thought the same thing. Oh, my grandma has it. I got it. Like, there's just no way around it. We actually know that now that genetics don't necessarily mean a whole lot. If a grandparent has dementia, it only really makes about 2 to 3% chance more. It really is about lifestyle. But of course, unfortunately, there are genetic variants that you cannot change, like you said. So like a behavioral variant of frontal temporal dementia, yes, if you have the gene, you will develop this disease later on. And so that's absolutely frightening. But it's really brain health now that you can take control of it as best you can. It is not a foolproof way, unfortunately, but if you are taking care of your brain health, which I see younger people and caregivers of their loved ones that are older living with it are saying, what can I do? Anything I can do to avoid this. So brain health is definitely a bigger thing. It's getting, traction.
I mean, taking care of your brain health is the nearest thing you can do to prevention in this space. And I don't think it harms anybody. So whether you're at risk or not.
Yes. One more thing is, yes, our heart health is very indicative of our brain health. So taking care of your heart in general is going to be better for your health, because vascular dementia is a very, very prominent dementia. And that is because of vascular health in our heart health. But what I just wanted to make sure it is known, because sometimes it can get hard to understand, that dementia itself is not a disease. It is a set of symptoms, and it can be caused, those symptoms, dementia, can be caused by over 120 reasons, diseases, causes, what have you, brain injuries, there's different things. But dementia itself is not a disease. So just putting that out there.